Well, hello there, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Cloud-Based Mayhem. Before we get into this one, just want to apologize for the long gap. I have those of you who follow kind of what I'm doing know that I did a big expedition across the Alaska Range, the Alaska Range Traverse. I think we're calling it Under the Midnight Sun, with Dave Turner. Took 37 days to complete. Had to go on solo after Dave had to leave day 32, I believe, because he had some other commitments in Europe, and let's face it, it was just going really slowly. So he had to bail. He had a bunch of other stuff he had to attend to. I continued on alone, got some fantastic weather, and ended up finishing it pretty quickly with some good flights at the end. This podcast is not about Alaska. I just wanted to let you all know that I'm back safely. Thank you for your patience and waiting for the next episode. Now back in Ketchum. After Alaska, zipped over to Europe, did some quick training with Ben and Bruce, my X-Alps team, as we're planning on doing that next year. And I'm now home for the rest of the summer, so we're going to be able to bang out some more of these podcasts. Rafael Saladini. I met Rafael this year down in Mexico at the Monarca. The guy is just full of brilliant light and energy. He has had an amazing year. It's not often you get to talk to somebody who's just won a PWC task out in Portugal, as well as flown 500K this year with the boys down in Brazil. We talk about his chasing the world records. We talk about his world record back in 2007 that broke Will Gadd's. We talk about all kinds of things. His early career with a bunch of accidents, leaving the sport for a long time, coming back to it, having great mentors, and just how he has excelled. You guys are going to dig this, Rafael. I mean, it's amazing how poetic Rafael is in a second language. I've got to go visit him. I got to get in there with this guy. He's just super inspiring, wonderful human being. So I'll leave it at that. And without giving you too much, enjoy this episode. And without further ado, Rafael Saladini. Rafael, we have been trying to get together since the Monarca in Mexico. It is so awesome. I have been so excited personally to talk to you about all the awesome things you've been doing lately. Thanks for coming on the Mayhem. I'm really excited to sit down and have this chat with you, even though you're, where are you in Brazil?
Oh, hi, Gavin. It's a pleasure to be here with you and with all this audience that, loves paragliding also. I'm in Brazil right now, in Rio de Janeiro, in my hometown. So I just came by to visit my family and my friends a bit before, jumping towards, the northeast of Brazil and try to build up another expedition. Maybe another world record is going to be done this year. Let's see, huh?
Cool. Now, actually, before we get into the world record and where you're going, and we're going to be talking a lot about that, that must be an exciting place to be right now with the Olympics descending on you. What's Rio like right now?
Rio now, it's getting ready. There is a lot of pessimism with the event because I don't know what happens in people's mind here, but I'm not this kind of person. I'm really optimistic. As people had bad thoughts about the World Cup, about many events we've hosted here. At the end, everything is sorted out, everything works, and our government is struggling to organize the security part, and we're just getting ready, and as all the Brazilians, we're just going to be ready at the last minute. But at the end of the event, I'm sure everybody's going to be happy, and it's going to be a very nice atmosphere, and the Brazilian, way of life is going to be in these Olympics for sure.
Yeah, you guys, I do know this about the Brazilians. You guys know how to throw a good party. It's going to be a fantastic event, and hopefully all these concerns that people have about security are just going to be, it'll just be overshadowed by the glorious event that the Olympics is. I'm pretty excited about it, pretty excited to watch it. Rafael, so the two main things I really want to talk about is the world record last year, an incredible team effort you guys put in with that, and then also your recent task win on the last day in Portugal. But I think a lot of our listeners probably don't know a ton about your history, and actually I don't as well. I was just googling you before the show, and there wasn't a whole lot of information. Well, a lot of the information was in Brazilian, so I couldn't read it. So I would love to can you give us a kind of a synopsis on how you got into flying and the catalyst that started you into flying, and kind of how you've gotten to where you are today?
Yeah, for sure. When I was 14 years old, my father decided to make a hang gliding course, and I went with him to a school here near Rio de Janeiro. But in the first day, he quit. He thought it was too dangerous for him. But at the end of the day, I had already touched a hang glide. I was really amazed with the sport, with the atmosphere, with the pictures I saw. This was back, I think, in 1996 or 1997. And then the sport was in my head, and my cousin and a friend of mine, they started 3 years, 4 years later, paragliding. And I decided to follow them. I was a minor. I had just 16 years old, so I could not actually start the sport because here in Brazil we have a law that you should just start when you are 18. Even though I found an instructor that he decided to teach me, and I just started like that. I had to actually go to the takeoff here in Rio de Janeiro, which is really controlled by the federation. I had to go in the trunk of the car. That's from where my nickname comes from, because all the Brazilians, they call me Sardinha, which is sardine, the fish, because I used to go up in the car, in the trunk of the car, like a sardine can, so people would say, you look like a sardine inside this trunk, because I'm big, I'm tall, and people decided to call me like that, and it's a horrible nickname, but that's the way they call me.
I love it. I love it.
Then I was really irresponsible. I was trying to follow my cousin Rodrigo Monteiro, because he was already a PWC pilot, a guy that was going already to try to break records in northeast of Brazil, and I just grow up. I was grown up with him together. So as a cousin, as my bigger cousin, I tried to follow him, and I suffered many accidents. I was like the type of the guy that I would take off, and people would put their hands in their head and say, "Oh my God, it's him! He just took off. Be aware of him."
Mm.
After a couple of accidents, I finally could actually suffer a big, important accident that changed my life. I broke my hip. I broke my left foot and my right arm. Um, I almost exploded like a tomato, in a takeoff in the countryside of Brazil. So then I stopped. This was October of 1999, and I stopped. I was really traumatized, and I came back just in 2003, because my cousin and my friend, they put pressure on me to start again, and I started. So, but I started committing probably the same mistakes. I suffered some little accidents also again, and I don't know what happened to me, but I think it was like a divine illumination, or I don't know what happened. I just when I was like 2 years of flying, maybe 2005, everything clicked, in my head. I stopped to commit stupid mistakes. I stopped to think that I could manage every situation. So since then, I've never had any accidents flying. Just, I mean, reserve parachute, which is really, I mean, normal for a guy that it's flying competitions in high level and speed in full speed and having crevettes sometimes. So I had just one first actually reserve parachute in competitions. So that's pretty much my story. I started again in 2003 with my cousin as my mentor, and after him, I just switched my mentor to a really good instructors. After Rodrigo, I jumped to Marcelo Prieto, which is a guy that actually, I mean, the guy just broke the world record again. In that time, he had already broken 400 Ks in Texas. Actually, in the same day, Will Gadd broke the world record. He was there also flying. So the guy had a lot of experience. He taught me everything about big cross country flying. And basically, I jumped from nice mentor to nice mentors. You know, I just jumped from one to another, and that's why I could get a kind of shortcut to develop myself really fast. Because a guy that started in 2003 and break a world record in 2007, it's just like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, and I could just manage to do that because I had nice people in my surroundings, with good knowledge, with the will of sharing this knowledge, of actually adopting me as their student, as their the guy that is supposed to replace them, the guy that is supposed to maintain their knowledge alive. And after that, Frankie Brown also, and another other Brazilian good pilots here also. And when I started to compete back in 2006, 2005, I was already surrounded by the best Brazilians in the sport, and I think this made a hell of a difference in my life because I saw many guys that started in the same time as me, and they could not develop themselves because they were not surrounded by the right people. And I think this is one of the most important things in this sport, especially because it's a life risk sport. You cannot commit big mistakes as I used to do. And seeing and watching and observing the best ones, you see how they behave, what is important, what is not important, what you should do to keep yourself safe, to keep your head in the ground, to not being, how can I say, don't fall in this mistake, which is it's an illusion that you are like a Superman, that you were better than you actually are. So basically, I just kept my feet in the ground, following the right people here in Brazil. That's pretty much my story, my beginning, you know. And after 2007, I was with the Brazilian team trying to break records in the Northeast. And this made my whole story in the sport, you know.
There's a lot of things there. That was a really good history. If you don't mind, I'd love to go back. You hit on quite a few things that I get a lot of questions through the podcast from pilots that want to know things like because I have a similar history in terms of the mentor thing. I surrounded myself with guys who were just so much better, and they were just so giving of their time, and kind of like you, I think I was very aggressive in the beginning. Maybe I'm still aggressive, but I very aggressive, and they would constantly try to kind of bring me back to have your feet on the ground and not have this Superman syndrome, like you said. I really like that. How did you surround yourself with those guys, and that kind of is that really a Brazilian thing? Because I agree with you. I think the mentor side. I mean, certainly talent is a big part of it, and you have a lot of talent clearly. But to go from probably those guys were seeing this kid that was having all these accidents and making really silly, stupid mistakes, and maybe we don't want to even teach him. He's a firecracker. How did you kind of break into that going? I'd love to hear more about that transition, both mentally, but also from the mentor side. How did you recover from those accidents mentally?
For me, it was really hard because when I started to fly again in 2003, I was really traumatized. I had a lot of fear. I still do actually when I'm speeding close to the ground. I'm not the type of pilot, even though I'm competing in a high level. Every time that I'm really close to the mountain or close to the floor, I remember my injuries, my situation over there, and I don't want to live that anymore. So that's really fresh in my mind still nowadays, 13 years after. My transition was not so easy because Nobody wanted to have a bad student in their side, as you said. What I did, I just decided to train and train and train. I was like, by that time when I started again, I was like 20, 19 years old, actually 21. And for me, I had plenty of time to train. So I started to go to every single competition that I could. I went to Mexico a couple of times with Frankie, and I definitely followed the Brazilian league also a lot. And with my serial glider in that time, I used to fly a Sigma 6. And with the Sigma 6, I started to actually take nice decisions regarding navigation during the tasks. And then I would actually be like a rising star in the serial class. And I think that's pretty much what gave me these credentials to actually knock in the door of the good guys and say, "Hey, man, you see, I'm trying to learn. Could you please help me out?" And I think, of course, this is a Brazilian way also to do when you're among friends here. We really want to share things, and Brazil is a country that is really amazing for cross country flying. We like US, for example, we do have big communities hidden in the middle of Brazil that nobody knows, and they don't compete. They just want to fly and have fun. They have this really familiar environment. They bring kids and family to the takeoff, and they really live the flying lifestyle. And they don't care about competitions, about titles, about anything. They just want to live the lifestyle, fly, and have fun. And there is this little city in Brazil called Araxá, which is in the same province of Governador Valadares, which is Minas Gerais. Araxá is a city that you can fly more than 100 k's in 360 degrees. They have flights of 200 k's, a flight of 300 k's. So it's really nice to fly during the spring. And we have a very nice community over there, and that's pretty much the place that gave me the credentials to become a good cross country pilot, because I spent all my springs over there. I got to know the best pilots of the city. I'm actually the godfather of a son of one of them, and I would live there for 3 months every season, and that's where I could meet and straight and get my relationship with Marcelo Prieto much closer. And Marcelo Prieto saw a potential on me, and he adopted me and brought me for the first time in 2006 to the northeast of Brazil as a student, as a guy that, as a promise, as a potential to actually join the team he was wanting to form, to try the world record again. And that's pretty much from where I got this transition, struggling, training, competing, learning, and actually not convincing, but showing my results to good guys that actually decided to adopt and share their knowledge with me. That's pretty much what happened.
Take me through some of that training. When you look back, and you were kind of adopted by Marcelo, and he was assembling this team, and started to really work on breaking the world record. What were some of the things when you look back? Were there kind of some aha moments? Were there some things that in your own toolkit that really needed repairs? Some things that you were obviously doing wrong, or was it just simply a matter of hours and flying more?
The thing of flying in northeast of Brazil and these huge distances here in Brazil, because we don't have the wind of South Africa, we don't have the window of Texas, we don't have. Brazil is pretty much a place that you have 12 hours to fly, and by that time we were able to fly 8 hours and 30 minutes. So that's the jump of the cat. I'm not sure if you have this expression in English, but the jump, the pretty much the thing that actually trigger the whole thing is the teamwork. And when I was training cross country flight with Marcelo Prieto in Araxá, he taught me the basic things of cross country, lines of disturbances, how to read clouds, how to use cloud streets, how to position yourself in during the flight, how to actually read the forecast to actually know if it's a potential day or not. And that's pretty much the basic training he taught me. I cannot tell you what I was doing wrong because I was not doing it. I started to do with
Mm.
them. So I just learned the right way to do it, because I was not doing before. I was a student. I was a guy that has flown maybe 70K, 90K. And the first time I broke 100K barrier, I was with them already. So I was actually sucking this knowledge from them, getting this knowledge from the best source we have here in Brazil. And this training of 2006 in Northeast of Brazil, I think this for me was the trigger that triggered the whole thing in my life, because actually he saw a potential on me to join this teamwork, this thing to, for example, if we have like 2, 3 pilots, you don't need to talk in the radio. You don't need to communicate yourself with nobody. It's when we train together, it becomes like a flying organism. We don't say a word in the radio. Okay, let's go. Okay, to the right. Okay, to the left. No, we don't say nothing. We just fly, together, and it's like a flying organism. It's automatic, and this is a matter of training and training and training and training together, not alone. It's completely different than flying a gaggle in PwC, for example, or in a competition, because when you're flying a gaggle, you're competing against everybody. You want to make sure you are in the best position. You want to make sure you're higher. You want to make sure you're faster. But to fly in a group, in a team, actually, it's not like flying in a gaggle. In a team, you have to fly in the same pace of your fellows. If you have a better position, you have to use your position to help them, going first, showing the lines first. So you have to change the chip. You cannot fly in our team in the same way we fly competitions. And that's pretty much what I've learned back in 2006. That's what he teach me. He taught me because I was committing some mistakes, like using him, and he would say, "Hey, man, you're using me too much. You're not supposed to use me. You're supposed to help me. So if you're higher, go first, open wider, fly 50K at most sideways. So use this advantage, these little advantages you have to help the team to fly faster." Because at the end of the day, that's going to make a hell of a
And are
difference.
you guys spending quite a bit of time? So, after a day that maybe doesn't work or there was a mistake or somebody bombs out, are you guys spending quite a bit of time, discussing it and figuring out where you went wrong and, or, yeah, and in the air, to the wider world, that 3 people went the same distance and the world record is just so cool. The style of that is because we're programmed as humans to be like in the PwC. At some point, you break away and you do it on your own. For you guys to have that kind of diligence, is this something you really discuss, or is it really just part of the not the programming, but just I guess just the love for one another?
Marcelo Prieto and Frankie Brown, they've flown competing against themselves for, I don't know, since 1995 or 1996, something like that. And they just got fed up about racing against each other. The concept of flying together, it was created, in our point of view here in Brazil for the Brazilians, by Marcelo Prieto and André Fleury. André Fleury is a very famous tandem world record breaker. The guy has, I don't know, 8 world record of open distance in a tandem. And he's a guy that tried with Marcelo Prieto for many years to actually try to take off as early as 6:30, to break this barrier of taking off at 9, at 8:30, and widening or making our window more longer. So now instead of taking off at 8:30, 9, and flying until 5:30, we're actually taking off 6:30 and flying until 5:30, which makes a hell of a difference in the whole concept of flying here. So they created this style of flying together as a team, helping one another. However, André Fleury, he was more into tandem records, and Marcelo got a bit alone, and Frankie started to fly with Sol paragliders back in 2006 and 7. So that's when they could join, they could actually join forces, because before that they were friends, but they could not join in the same team because Marcelo would fly for Sol and Frankie would fly for Jen. So in that season, they joined forces, and I was already with Marcelo since the season before, since 2006. I was with Marcelo training as a team. And when we reached the season of 2007, I went alone first a couple of weeks before, and I broke the South American record alone. And then Marcelo joined me over there in 2007, like 2 weeks later, and he broke my South American record. And then Frankie joined the team, and we started to fly together and to actually build this concept among ourselves, because it's not easy. You read the concept, oh, okay, let's fly together, let's help one another, let's do this, do that. But that's really easy to read, and it's really hard to do it, because in many moments I catch myself competing with my fellows. Like you said, it's automatic, it's our instinct. And that's not the right way to do it, And Frankie, it's really, it's by far the most experienced Brazilian pilot, and he can change the chip really easily to helping or to competing against. And he's really experienced. And me and Marcelo, we struggled more to actually change this chip, but at the end we managed to do it, because we've been flying so many times together and so many times alone also, and to fly alone in that immensity, flying just by yourself, with no friends around, it's not the same atmosphere. When you reach an objective, you reach a goal, and you have your friend beside you to share this experience, it's completely different. It's another atmosphere, it's another experience, It's much more powerful, because your memories is your memories, are your memories. When you can share this memory with someone, then it becomes stronger, it becomes a story with 2 points of view, more enriched by details. And that's why we decided to actually make a movie also about that we've done in 2007, also called Círculos. And that's pretty much what happened, That's pretty much why I say that to share this experience was the best decision we've made.
What I'd love to hear, I love that, Rafael, and I couldn't agree more. It's just so much special, more special when you have when it's not just your own camera in your mind, but everybody else's. Is that when you land together, it's really what is so precious, I think, about this sport. Take me back. I think the wider world, and before we started the show, you and I were talking about, that you guys have really looked around the world in terms of finding places to set the record in Texas and Australia and South Africa and Brazil. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. But also, I think the wider world who haven't done these big downwind, flatland flying, searching for these records, I think they underestimate really how scary it could be. It's not just flying over a desert. Tell me about, some of the kind of mental things you guys have to deal with, because as I understand it, I haven't flown Brazil, but as I understand it, you really have to do a lot of low flying over some pretty sketchy terrain. I remember when Nick Grease came back from Texas, because I always thought, Texas, it's, in my own mind that these flatland world records are really cool, but I didn't really appreciate, I think, how sketchy they can be. I mean, flying in wind is always a little bit sketchy, but certainly in the mountains, it's really sketchy where I fly. But when Nick got back from their world record attempts a couple years ago with the Ozone team, he was talking about, among other things, a lot of people with guns, but, fences and cactus and, places that you would really not want to put down a glider. And I think that that's similar from what I understand. I mean, I know that you guys are dealing with really windy launches, but take me through some of that side of it. I mean, is it something you guys head into with a little bit of trepidation, or is it just you've done it enough that it's just no big deal? It's about finding the right day.
Uh, the first thing that I want to say is that we were really lucky to be Brazilians because I've never flown in Australia. I've never flown in South Africa and in Texas. Marcelo and Frankie, they've flown in Texas already. And actually, they say that Texas is pretty much probably the best place. That's the world record. If we get a magic day in Texas, then it's going to be unbeatable. Uh, However, when you compare Brazil, the northeast of Brazil, even though this is actually a kind of, how can I say, a tricky thing. How can I say that? It's a thing. It's really interesting because Brazil is not a safe country regarding security. If you compare it with South Africa, Australia, and the States, probably Brazil is the most dangerous countries between these four, right? Regarding violence. But in this case of flying, I should say that probably is one of the safest ones. Because Brazil, the northeast of Brazil, you have paved roads all over. You have houses all over. You have really, really humble people living in those houses. They're willing to give you everything they have. They offer you food. They offer you everything they have to make your life more comfortable. They are really sympathetic with the sport because we're like angels that fall in their reality, and they got really amazed of what we do, and they ask questions. They really change the, how do you say, imaginary world, or their head. We really insert some new realities and concepts and dreams in their heads. When we compare Brazil with Texas, for example, what Marcelo and Frankie told me is that even though Texas is the best place, that's probably is going to be the final world record is going to be there. Like probably we can fly right now 600 Ks in Texas if we get the magic day. Even though it's the best place, you do have to deal with more like closed farms, fences that you cannot go with the car to retrieve the guy. Huge areas that you cannot land over there. Farms that are locked, and the border with Mexico deal with the police. I just saw that Johnny Duran had this problem this time, attempting a world record over there. He was, conducted by policemen out of the place he landed. And then if you compare this with South Africa also, for sure, because South Africa, it's more wild, the flying over there. It's higher. You take off from 1500. You have more wind. Uh, you have more wind when you're landing. And in Australia, probably say it's safe like Brazil, but it's not so inhabited. You don't have that many houses. Northeast of Brazil, you have a house every 20, 30 K. So you never die there because of hunger, because of lack of thirst, because of being lost and not finding a way out. This is impossible to happen in northeast of Brazil. Because you have paved national roads everywhere. You have houses, you have food, you have water in their houses. So I should say that you should try to fly in Quixadá once, or Tacima, to see how it's much easier than these myths that people talk about and people like to scare the others away. I should tell you that it's much. It's you're gonna fly in Quixadá and say, is this what people were trying to say, that it's scary? I mean, you've been in the Alaskan Traverse right now. You just came back. I mean, when you compare the Alaskan Traverse, I mean, northeast of Brazil is a kind of, it's almost like a
Right, right.
megalopolis, you know,
It's not exactly the same.
thousands of people.
Well, Rafael, I do at some point here. I'd love to transition to the PWC and your task win in Portugal. But before we do, can you take me back to that December day last year, because you have been very Brazilian, and you've said you were just so happy for your friends. But on the 513 day, and we'll talk about your other day too. But the 513 day, you bombed out really early. Take me through that day.
Yeah. We were in an expedition for 1 month. Okay, we started to fly on October 5th, and the world record was broken in October 9th. Uh, every day until October 9th. In October 5th, uh, Frankie bumped out. October 7th, Marcelo bumped out. October 8th, Donizete bumped out. And in October 9th, it was my turn to bump out.
Oh man, oh man,
So for me,
oh,
but for
what
me,
a day to bomb out.
but I tell you that for me was the best thing that could happen to me, because I mean, to break a world record, I think it's a resume of your life. You know, life is not easy. You know, I stopped paragliding from 2008 until 2014, and I just came back. You know, these guys, they've been struggling, going to northeast of Brazil every year, really focused on the world record. They could not manage to get a nice year. It would be really easy, and I would be really spoiled if I was in the team breaking the record again. And the bottom line is that I did not I was not struggling enough to be in the team this year. And if you consider this organism, this flying organism that I was talking about, of this connection that we have between ourselves, this year I was not connected to them, because in 2007, I tell you, I was really connected to Marcelo Prieto and Frankie Brown. We were like a flying organism, flying perfectly fast, one helping another, no talking in the radio, really, 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 how can I say, together, flying together as one organism. This year, 2015, last year, I wasn't a part of the team. I was invited by them because I'm a former world record with them. I'm a member of the team. But in this case, you cannot enforce someone. You cannot put someone inside the team and say, come on, now this guy is a part of the team. Okay, he can be a part of the team in the theory. But when you go to the practical side, then if you're not working with them, if you're using the team, if you're not helping the team, you're going to be left behind. Not because they want, but that's because that's the way the organism behaves. You know, in a certain moment, I was just chasing them. In the October 9th, I bumped out really early in the morning, so I did not have plenty of time to fly with them and checked and realized that I was not prepared. But when we tried again in November 3rd, I think that I could fly 500, and Marcelo and Donizete repeated 513. I realized that I was not, I was not a part of the team that year. I was just using them. I was pretty much more like a parasite than a part of the team, because I was every time flying behind, trying to catch them. And that's why when we reached 300 Ks, I decided I'm over with that. I'm not following them to the 500. I'm just gonna make the rest of my flight alone. So then I'm gonna fly. I'm gonna land much happier than just follow my fellows the rest of the day. So for me, it was really hard to realize that, but I think that's the part of life. I think we learn much more from our losses, from our disappointments, from our frustrations than just having good results, titles, and everything comes easier, easy and soft to our lives. And I think for me it was the best thing because I realized that, okay, I am a good pilot, but a world record is a world record and you got to struggle. You need to deserve it. And in 2015, I did not deserve it. This year, 2016, if we break it again, then I can come back here and tell you, hey, Gavin, this year I really deserve it because I trained with my fellows. I was flying already for so many competitions, preparing myself for that. But in 2015, definitely I was out of the team.
Tell me about this period then between 2008 and 2014. I didn't know about that. What was going on there?
It was the Call of Duty, it was two things. First, because I was really bored. I broke a world record. I was flying really nicely, but at the end, I was flying so many hours every year that I was flying with bad humor. I would catch a thermal and start complaining that thermal was not perfect. It was not 5 meters per second. It was just 2 meters per second, and all my happiness was going towards paragliding. If I would go well in a competition, I was really happy. If I would go bad in a competition, I would be depressed. So I was pretty much like a bipolar person, following my results in the sport. And besides that, I have my family. My family has businesses, and they were really needing me to come back from this parallel universe that I put myself on. So I decided to help them, and I just came back to my family business also to help them. And these probably are the two main purposes. I just quit the sport for a while, and now I came back with another head, more mature, putting paragliding exactly in the position that it should be. It's not my entire life anymore. It's just a part of it. So I'm pretty much thinking like a financial market guy. I'm just diversifying my happiness right now. I have a family. I'm trying to have a kid now. I have my work, and I have paragliding also.
How do you then maintain the passion for something like a world record given all that? I think that having the passion of free flight, when we first learn, is just automatic. Like every sledder, every time we go off the hill, just the absurdity of it all is so overwhelming that it's just you can't get enough. After a lot of hours and a lot of comps, and it can be pretty hard for people to maintain that kind of passion, especially when you're chasing like a world record. Just the hours and the retrieves and the dedication. Like I know when Will Gadd went through all that back in the early 2000s, chasing his world records. It's just a massive amount of time and energy that you have to commit to that. So how do you maintain that passion, and are you as passionate now as you were back in the day?
In 2007, we could not. I could not even think about that because first we were just thinking about breaking the South American record, and after I broke it, because a Portuguese guy held the South American record. It was 380, and in the first flight I did 398. So then Marcelo did 414, and when Marcelo did 414 in Brazil, then we thought, ooh, to 423 Will Gadd's world record. It's just 9Ks. So maybe it's possible. And that's when we started to dream about it. And this dream just lasts probably for 3 weeks because then we managed to break it. So we had a lot of how can I say people were really skeptical with the potential of Brazil to be the place to break world record, and we've changed that in 2007. Nowadays, for me, it's a hell of an experience still because it's not a matter just of reaching the mark. It's the whole journey. Uh, that's what I just told you when I was talking about deserving or not the world record last year. The whole journey is the most important thing. To be with your friends, struggling, to be in that environment in Brazilian drylands with that people, that humble people, learning so many teachings from them, how to be happy with simple things, how to live with such a few resources. Uh, uh, the whole atmosphere of this journey of trying the world record, that enchants me. That's that's where I really feel alive. That's where I really feel interesting about paragliding, because competitions is really nice, but I really should tell you that I just go to competitions to evolve myself as a pilot, to learn how to fly faster, to learn how to handle my glider better. But at the end, what drives me in the sport, it's pretty much this world record breaking attempts, because that's where I feel alive. That's where that's what I like it from the sport. Like you did the Alaskan Traverse. For me, it's much more interesting than going to a PWC or to a Brazilian Nationals or to for the rat race or anywhere else. These adventurous things, these breaking barriers, breaking the limits, expanding our sports limits. That's what drives me. That's what makes me happy about our sport.
So how do we transition from that kind of intensity and chasing world records to just enjoying free flight? As you get older, if you keep pressing like that, the inevitable is that you're going to probably get hurt, or you just don't have the reaction time and the skills and the eyesight. So have you thought about that? And I know you're a lot younger than I am, but how do you transition from kind of where you are? How do you see your career moving forward? And then also, maybe separate question, I'd love to ask you about your best flight. Is it the 500 you got after the world record went down, or is it another one?
Yeah, I have just 33 years old right now. I'm the youngest ones. I mean the youngest one from my team. I see Frankie with 46. He broke the record last year with 46 or 48. I'm not sure. Marcelo, he's got 38, and the other guys, they have more than 40. So I see a big horizon in front of me regarding paragliding, but I'm not the type of person that is going to be doing paragliding for the rest of my life in this level. I really foresee in a future doing tandems with my wife, with my kids, having fun with it, because I love to fly. I love to be in the flying environment. I love the friends I've made. Uh, I love the knowledge I've learned from the sport. I started to observe the world in a different way, and I think it's pretty much what I find so interesting about paragliding. It's not like swimming or cycling, it's which are amazing sports, but they don't teach you how to observe the world in a different way. They don't teach you chemistry, physics, biology. It's an amazing sport. So I foreseen a very nice future, for sure not competing. I'm jumping out to sailplanes also. I'm starting to fly sailplanes. So I'm not sure if I'm going to jump completely to sailplanes as I did with paragliding, but I'm sure I'm going to be flying both of them.
And so tell me about your best flight when you look back at your career. Was it the longest, or was it something else?
My best flight for sure, it's my world record, because I really dreamed about it. It was a big pursuit. It was an objective we had. It was a barrier that my country had to break also, because Brazil was known as a consistent flying country, a country that you could take off from a foot launch and fly really far away, but it was not a country that would held a world record. And for me, breaking this barrier with my friends, landing exactly in the same soccer field like we've done, and sharing that energy, that vibe, that it was really powerful for me. So in my 500 flight, I went further. Probably, I don't know. I must be like the fifth or the sixth. I don't know, the person to reach 500 Ks. But at the end, I was alone in the middle of nowhere, waiting for my retrieve, just with my camera. I didn't have no one to share this experience, and that's pretty much what I love now, to fly with my friends. If you tell me, Rafael, do you want to break the record again alone? I should tell you, if I fly at least 80% of the flight with my friends, that's fine. But if I have to do all the way alone, probably I would say that I'm gonna get bored before and land before, you know.
Rafael, let's talk about PWCs a little bit. I think I have a similar approach to you when it comes to PWCs. I use them as tools to become a better pilot. Don't get too wrapped up in the results. I think that can be kind of dangerous, but it sure is awfully fun to do well. And you just did incredibly well at the PWC in Portugal. You won the last task. I'd love to just hear about that. Take me through what that was like. I bet that was pretty incredible.
Yeah, for me, when I broke the record back in 2007, I became a very good cross-country pilot, but I was never a good competition pilot. I was never consistent. I would go well in one day, bumped out another. So this came back that I did since 2014. I came back more mature, observing this consistency, being aware that I should be more consistent. And for me, winning two PwC tasks, one in Baixo Guandu in Brazil and the second one now in Portugal, for me was really important for my self-esteem, for my confidence also, to know that I'm really able to fly well competitions also. And I was really consistent now in Portugal. In the first task, I bumped out, but then the second task, I was second. The third task, I was second also, and in the last and fourth task, I was first. So if the second task had valued 1,000 points, which it was not the case, it was just 300 points valid. Probably I would be in the podium, but for me, inside, I know that I've flown really consistent. And for me, it was really amazed how I changed as a pilot to a more mature, more conscious pilot than I used to be. So for me, with PwC, I don't care that much for the result, but for me, to have a nice result, it's really important, to pursue more objectives in my life in the sport,
Rafael, what I'd love to hear about is, maturity and how you've learned to, I think, many pilots can maybe go out and, crush one day, just kind of throw risk out the window, press a lot of bar, lead out. But it's pretty hard to be consistent, day after day. A couple of top threes and a win in a task at a PwC is really hard to do. Very impressive. Can you kind of just take me through? I imagine there's a lot of maturity and a lot of hours that's involved in that, but can you just take me through kind of your headspace going into a PwC these days and tell me how you're pulling that off?
What I realized is that observing my friends, people that I admire, is that you don't need to prove nothing to no one. You don't need to go in front all the time. You need to breathe sometimes. Back in 2007, I was really immature. I thought that I had to prove that I was able to lead, and I was just risking and risking and risking. And in a certain point, something goes wrong, and then I lose the whole task. Even though in Portugal I've flown really aggressive, in many times in the time, because Portugal it's not mountains. Because when I'm like in the Alps or in the Rocky Mountains in the States, when I'm really deep into mountains, I'm not a good pilot. I'm really scared. I prefer to fly flatlands. That's my style. That's from where I come from. That's where my skills are made for. So Portugal, it has some similarities with Brazil. So I was feeling really comfortable over there. I was not feeling threatened by the environment. I was feeling really comfortable with the turbulence and all that. And for me, even though I was aggressive, flying really consistent and with the first gaggle, and sometimes risking alone in front, in many, many moments, I stopped. After leading a while, I stopped. I let people go in front of me. I say, come on, now I have enough leading points. Let's just thermal. Let's just get high. Follow now another person. Let's use now the gaggle. Let's breathe. Otherwise, you get tired. You lose your concentration, and it's pretty much, it's for me it's pretty arrogant also to think that you're going to be able to lead a whole task of 100 Ks in front of the best pilots in the world. I think you need to share this responsibility, because there is no perfect pilot, and I think it's just a matter of understanding that. And actually, Cody Mitang was a guy that inspired me in the last few years, because I met him in the super final in Mexico, and I saw how he was flying. He went to Castello. I saw how concentrated and consistent he was. So for me, some guys like Frankie Brown, like Andreas Malecki, like Torsten Siegel, like Jean-Marc Caron, like Charles Cazot. These guys, they really inspire me, because I saw the consistency on them, and I saw them, I observed them, and I see that they're not kids. They fly not to prove anyone to nobody. They fly to win. And that's what I'm trying to do now, even though I don't care that much, but I'm trying to do it, because just trying, I think I'm going to become a better pilot.
Rafael, it sounds to me like there's actually a lot of crossover between the kind of team flying you guys are doing in Brazil, when you're in the air for 10, 11, 12 hours, where you're really letting whoever has the most energy push a little bit more, but you're kind of allowing the gaggle to do the work, which is a real key component of doing well in PWCs. It sounds like there's quite a bit of crossover there. The strategies actually sound, obviously PWCs are much shorter tasks, a lot more bar, you're racing really fast, but do you see a lot of crossover between these kind of two, in some ways, very different elements, but also the approach sounds pretty similar?
Yeah. That's actually the thing I have to learn right now to do it better, to use the gaggle and to risk less myself. That's what I'm trying to learn now. When we fly together as a team, trying to break the record, it's like a band of birds. We share the leadership every thermal. One time, a person that it's really fit and not tired goes in front. The others spread to the sides, but a bit in the back. And then you just make a transition of leadership, and we just exchange leadership the whole day, so nobody gets too much tired. And that's pretty much what the best competition pilots they do. However, with this new formula now, if you don't actually lead for a couple of, especially in the first third of the task, then if you arrive with the gaggle in goal, you're going to lose precious leading points. So this new formula now is actually pushing people to lead a bit, to actually make the whole gaggle more aggressive. And I think that this is pretty much this is pretty good, because people are not just holding and waiting to see what the others are doing. They're actually trying to lead, trying to be aggressive, and trying to win the task with this strategy of leading a bit and then fly with the gaggle, not just fly with the gaggle. And I think this is really important, and it's an evolution in our sport.
Rafael, I have to say, for someone who speaks English as their second language, you are quite the poet. How you talk about paragliding is really mesmerizing. I hate to cut us off, as I've barely even touched on a lot of the questions I had for you, but I want to be respectful of your time. We're nearing an hour here, And I've been doing this Proust questionnaire for a lot of the people coming on the show, and I haven't the last few times, but I went to a talk the other night by Salman Rushdie, the author of the Satanic Verses, and he talks about the Proust questionnaire. So I'd love to fire you off some questions from that, if that's okay. And maybe we can get you on for, if people really enjoy the show, which I know they will, we'll try to do a second one of these at some point. So I'll just take you through this real quick. What is your favorite word?
Word, love.
Nice. And what is your least favorite word?
Hate.
And what turns you on and what turns you off?
What turns me on is discoveries, limits. What turns me off is big cities.
Yes, you and I have that in common. What sound do you love and what sound do you hate?
I love the noise of nothing. I love the silence. I love to be meditating when I'm flying. That's why I love huge cross-country flights, because I'm silent. I'm silent the whole flight. And the noise I hate the most are traffic jam. Horns, cars, and this mess that we've been driven to.
Yes, humanity. There was very little of that on the expedition in Alaska. I have to say that was one of the most precious parts about that whole journey, for sure. What profession other than your own would you most like to do? And actually, I should ask you what your profession is. Are you a professional paraglider or something else?
No, I graduated in business administration. I'm pretty much for the financial part. So right now, I'm just in the financial market, administrating my family's stake, and I'm into the real estate market also, but as an investor. I'm not an engineer, but I build houses and little buildings. Also, that's what I do now.
Okay. So going back to the question then from the questionnaire, what profession other than real estate or finance would you most like to do?
Oof, I would like to be a product designer. or a film director, because I did one movie that's called Cyclus. The quality of the images are not so nice because it was actually in the transition of technology for GoPro and all that, but it was in the we won a prize in Saint-Hilaire de Touvet in 2010, I think, or 2011. I'm not sure which year it was, but now I'm doing another movie, the Cyclus 2, about the world record of my guys, of my friends. So I really have this little feet, this little foot on film making, but nothing too serious. Just my own movies. Really, it's not amateur, but people like it. But it's not professional. It's not like the Red Bull ones you've done.
Right, right, yeah, of course. I've certainly been at both end of that spectrum and the production editing end of things, and it is a lot of work. It's really creative and fun, but I'm quite enjoying just being the guy that they tell you, go do this, go fly, and let them do all the work. Yeah, absolutely. So, what profession would you not like to do?
Oof. I would not like to be a president of a country, because I don't like I don't like to have enemies. So I don't like the powerful positions.
Yeah, and Brazil has been quite tumultuous lately politically, as of course we have as well. But yeah, geez, what a miserable job.
Exactly. So I would hate to be a politician.
Yeah, God, no kidding. So, last one. If God does exist, what would you want him to say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Wow. I would like to hear that if it's true that I've done a good work to make my world better before departing from it, because that's what I try to help people and try to make the world better than with my attitude, with my to deliver a world better than I was brought into. That's what I want to hear. That's what I want to hear, because that's what's going to make my existence more fulfilled.
Ah, very well said, my friend. Very well said. Rafael, thank you so much. That was a real treat. You and I have got to spend some more time together. I've never flown in Brazil, so that's got to be the next move. I got to get in the sky with you. Thank you for answering these questions so honestly and poetically. You're a great human being. I feel really fortunate to have spent this time with you. I've done a lot of sailing on the coast of Brazil, but I've never been up there in the air, so got to get down your way. But thank you. I really appreciate it. Thanks for your time, and fly far, be safe, and go big, buddy.
Thank you for the invitation, and I would like to invite you one day to come here to fly with us and to get to know this and lose this this myths that it's really sketchy and I mean, to fly here big distances is going to be amazing, and you're going to enjoy, and you're going to find really easy and really really friendly, So feel free to come around and to fly with us, and I hope I meet you soon. Thanks for the invitation, man. It's beautiful, this work you do, sharing the knowledge of everybody, all the good pilots in the world with everybody. Thanks for doing that. You're making the world better.
Well, thanks, Rafael. I appreciate it. And yeah, buddy, we'll see you on the flip side. Cheers.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Oh man, I hope you enjoyed that. What a treat that was to sit down with Rob for an hour. I've been trying to tie up with him for many months since I met him at the Monarca this January. Knew he'd be great on the show. Man, so many strategies and tricks, and chasing world records and flying on the PWC. There's a lot there. If you're just discovering the podcast, really invite you to go back and check out some of the previous episodes. Some really great stuff, some fantastic stuff on Risk from Jeff Shapiro, great stuff on gliding from Matt Beechner. If you want to just laugh hysterically, check out Nick Greases or Nate Scales. Interviewed a bunch of the X-Alps guys, Acura guys. There's some real nuggets there. Just thrilled that I keep getting so much feedback that people are really enjoying this, really enjoying it on my end as well. Thank you so much for your donations. As always, all we ask for is $1 a show. It goes a long ways to making this more and more professional, upgrading the gear, and I will keep doing it. And like I said, I'm just thrilled to be doing it. I think it's a great way to get out knowledge. We've got Isabella Messenger coming up, Kari Castle, so we've got some great shows coming up for you soon. Again, at the top of the show, apologize for the delay in the last couple months and not getting one of these out. I was tied up crossing the Alaska Range with Dave Turner. The footage from that, what little I've seen, is absolutely mind-blowing. Pretty hard. You can't even really compare this one whatsoever to the Rockies Traverse. Same team with Real Water Productions. It was a Red Bull production. But just, man, we suffered and we flew and saw some just truly amazing things, and I'm really excited to get this movie out. Those guys are banging away up in Squamish on the edit, hoping to get the world premiere ready for Banff this November. If you haven't been to Banff for the film festival, I highly recommend you do. This is a much better thing than the world tour, because all the world tour films get all cut down. If you want to see them in all their glory, go to the Banff Film Festival the first week in November. They just put on an amazing festival. Love to see you up there. Yeah, that's about all I got for you. Thanks for listening. Appreciate it. Fly far, be safe, have fun. Cheers.